My name is Noah Duncan, and this is a discussion of my second assigned article, Health Disparities and Health Equity. The issue is justice. The article begins by talking about the various ambiguities regarding the definition of health disparities between different countries such as the United Kingdom and the United States, the different ways that they describe it, as well as the different focuses that they have on how health disparity is determined, such as the United Kingdom favoring socioeconomic differences for their focus, where the United States tends to favor racial and ethnic differences. And through all of this, they want to make clear that they believe it's important to get a solid definition and clarify the concepts of in order to make this a more effective discussion and more effective for implementing into health policies. And they follow that up with the underlying values and principles of it. Chief among that is that all people should be valued equally, especially in the terms of health, because health is very important in order to even participate in society. If you can't be healthy, then you won't be able to do essentially anything else in society, so it will get in the way of a whole bunch of things, especially if you are part of a socially disadvantaged group. And that is their primary definition for health disparities, is that they are systematic and plausibly avoidable health differences that adversely affect socially disadvantaged groups. They say that they may reflect social disadvantage, but a causal link does not need to be demonstrated. They also give us the definition of health equity, which is the value underlying a commitment to reduce and ultimately eliminate health disparities. Now, as we move along, it's important to remember that because of the definition of health disparities as presented here, it would mean that in order for this to qualify under a discussion of health disparities, it would be necessary that the issue in question adversely affects specifically socially disadvantaged groups more than what would be a socially advantaged group, such that even if a socially advantaged group has worse stats on a particular health indicator, that while that might be an important issue, that it would not fall under the health disparities agenda. But also, disadvantaged groups are not necessarily uniformly disadvantaged. That is, that some groups will suffer more than others in regards to different public health indicators, but that ultimately these socially disadvantaged groups are the important part of health disparities. It's also very much worth their consideration that not all members of the disadvantaged group need to be disadvantaged in order for it to be so and for it to count under a health disparities concern, specifically pointing out that we have had a black president and that some blacks are highly educated, but that does not necessarily mean that they are not a disadvantaged group and that their health concerns do not fall under the health disparities umbrella. And as we move toward the end of the article, there are a lot of questions regarding health disparities. Mostly they're addressing concerns that people would have with health disparities about if they were to bring up an entirely new point, would this spread out resources that they're already allocating to address racial and ethnic disparities? Would spreading that out cause more harm than good? And how the definition should evolve and things of that nature. Toward the end, they bring up the point that I am most concerned with, that they bring up socioeconomic status toward the very end of their article, which seems to be the more important indicator than the race and gender that they focused on throughout the majority of the article, because in this case, if you focused on socioeconomic status, because of the connection between socioeconomic status and socially disadvantaged groups, it would mean that you would be able to address that because it would more drastically benefit those of those socially disadvantaged groups thanks to socioeconomic status, while also not ignoring those of potentially socially advantaged groups that nonetheless find themselves in the position of health disparity with those of their peers and things of that nature. Regardless, the final conclusion that it is time to be explicit that the heart of a commitment to addressing health disparities is a commitment to achieving a more just society. I could not agree more with that conclusion. It is very important that we bring all people together and to represent that all people are equal, especially in health.